don't I just tell you the story of Hamlet? Shall I? I mean, it's a great story. It's got some great things in it. I mean, there's something like 8 violent deaths. There's murder, there's incest, there's adultery, there's a ghost, a mad woman, poisoning, revenge, sword fights, and it's a pretty good story. We kick off, there's a young guy called Hamlet. He's actually the Prince of Denmark, which of course means that his mother and father are the King and Queen of Denmark. And he's in Wittenberg getting an education at university, and he hears that his father's dead, so he goes back home, and he's pretty grief-stricken. When he goes home, he finds that his father is not only dead, but that his mother has married his uncle. That's disgusting for Hamlet to think about. I mean, that's his uncle, Uncle Claudius. We'll call him Claude. Now, Claude, Hamlet never liked him in the first place, and the fact that his mother married this guy is it's just inconceivable. It's shocking. It's like a 6-year-old kid going out on Christmas Eve and finding Santa Claus choking his mother under the tree. So, he's really upset about this. He doesn't really want to live.
Oh, God. God. How weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world.
And these friends of his come along, and they try and cheer him up, and they tell him in the course of their conversation and cheering him up that, hey, I think I saw your father last night. He says, my father's dead. He doesn't know whether to smack these guys in the mouth or believe me. He decides to believe him because the guy who tells him this is a particularly good friend of his who he's always trusted, one of the few people that he likes. So he decides to go out and hang on the battlements with these guys. And lo and behold, this spirit pops up, and he chases it all around the castle, and he gets it, and it is indeed the spirit of his father. And his father is burning in hell, and he walks the night. And Hamlet's very upset by this, but he says, but I came to tell you something. And he said, what? And he says, well, I didn't just die. He says, you didn't? He says, no, somebody killed me. I was murdered.
If thou didst ever thy dear father love, revenge his foul and most unnatural murder.
He said, well, who did it? He says, your uncle murdered me and then married my wife. Not only that, but he was having it off with her before I was even dead. It's terrible. So Hamlet's really upset by this, and he says, look, if you were any son of mine, if you ever loved me at all, and of course he did, he said, I'm going to lay a little duty on you. I want you to kill your uncle. And then the ghost disappears and leaves him with this, right? So he kind of wanders around, and he's thinking about how he's going to do it, and he decides he's going to act insane. So he acts mad. And there was a girl, you know, that he was sort of making eyes at for a while called Ophelia. She was a young thing, pretty young thing, 15, 16 maybe. Incidentally, her father had before that told the girl not to ever speak to Hamlet again because he's a king and she's a maiden and he's probably just trying to make out with her, right? And that's about all there is to it. So, Hamlet's acting crazy. He sneaks into her room and scares the hell out of her. Well, she is scared, so she goes and she tells her father, Polonius, who, duty-bound as the king's advisor, feels compelled to tell them that he thinks he's found the cause of Hamlet's madness and score some points there. Well, the king and queen really want to know why Hamlet's acting crazy, so they decide to put it to the test, put Ophelia in a place Hamlet normally goes every day to see if they can spy on him, to see if they can find the cause. But Hamlet realizes that he's being spied on, and he's nasty to Ophelia because he thinks she's in on it, too. She's probably the most tragic figure in the whole play. So this plan went over like a lead balloon. The king and queen realized they failed, so they decided to get some school friends of Hamlet's, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and hire them as spies to see if they can find the cause of Hamlet's madness, which they try, but Hamlet sees through this little plot, too. He knows he's got to do this duty, laid on him by his father, but he finds himself incapable of doing it. Does he not want to? Does he find a moral repulsion to actually having to murder someone? He's probably never done it before. And he says, I know what I'll do. I'll get a play devised. And the players come in, and he writes a piece of the play for them, and they perform the play, but he puts a speech in and a scene in whereby the king and queen are married, and the king gets murdered by his brother by putting poison in his ear, and steals his crown and steals his wife. So he says, I'll just watch the king during that play, and see how he reacts to that information, because it's very close to the bone if what the ghost says is true. He does watch the king, and he gets more than just a flinch. The king practically has an apoplectic fit.
Give me sunlight!
Hamlet knows he's got him now. He says, son of a gun, I'm going to kill this guy. I'm going to run him through. And he gets to the point where he's going to kill the king. He gets right to that point, and he steps right up behind him, and he's going to do it, and he can't do it. He goes to see his mother, and she's very angry at him for upsetting his father. And, now, mother, what's the matter?
Hamlet, thou hast thy father much offended.
And he says, you should be angry at me. Let me tell you a couple of things. So he slaps around and tells her a few things. And in the meantime, there's this guy, this old court official, Polonius, Ophelia's father. He's standing behind the curtain listening. And when Hamlet's in the middle of this rant to his mother, she says, what will you do? Thou wilt not murder me. And all of a sudden, this man behind the curtain starts to scream, and quick as a flash, Hamlet takes out the sword and just runs it straight through the screen. And he's he's dead meat. And Hamlet's uncle Claudius, the king, sends him on a sea voyage to get him out of town. He sends him to the Royal Court of England with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and those guys have letters written by Claudius the king asking the English king to execute Hamlet. But Hamlet discovers this and writes some letters of his own. He does a switch on the boys, and those two lads end up handing the English court their own death warrants. They come to a very sticky end indeed. Good night, boys. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Denmark, Ophelia goes mad because of her father's death and other things, general abuse, Hamlet included, and she drowns herself in a brook. Laertes, Ophelia's brother, and Polonius' son, has come back from France, and he's really angry because his father and his sister are dead, and Hamlet's the blame. So the king and Laertes cook up this scheme to knock him off. So they think, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll have a sword tournament. You get pretty thirsty when you're sword fighting, so when he's hot and dry, I'll give him a glass of wine and I'll drop some poison in it, says the king, right? And he says, great. And Laertes says,
I bought an unction of a mountebank, so mortal that if I but scratch him, it will mean death.
An unction is like a potion. A mountebank is like some weird witch doctor or something. And I'll put it on my sword, and if I scratch him, he's a dead man. So they put this plot into motion, and the guy comes and issues the challenge to Hamlet, and he goes off to this duel knowing that there's something cooking, and they get into these 3 bouts. So they're fighting away, and Hamlet gets the first hit, bang, and Laertes doesn't touch him. Then they go in for a second bout, bang, Laertes gets hit again. He's starting to get frustrated because he can't hit this guy, he's too good for him. And the queen walks down from her chair, grabs the glass, and drinks to his health.
Gertrude! Do not drink.
And she goes, oh, like that. It's too late. He's in public. What can he do? She's just had an evil dram. She's going to croak in a few minutes. And they stop the fight, and Laertes just says, I can't take this any longer. He just simply goes up to him and goes, and sticks him with it in the arm. And he goes, what are you doing? So then they have this big fight. The swords exchange, and Hamlet sticks him. And Laertes comes up and tells Hamlet that he's dead. And he says, oh, that's too bad. And he says, me either. We're both going to die. Forgive me. He says, yeah, I forgive you if you'll forgive me. And they forgive one another. And he says, by the way, see that guy still walking around, the king? It's all his fault.
The king's to blame.
So Hamlet, in an instant, just picks up the sword and just runs him through. Now, he could have saved a lot of time and energy and lives if he'd just done it in the first place, but that's not what this story is about. But that's really the end of the play. It's a good story. It's a bit dark at the end, though. I was wondering, oh yeah, I had a poem. There once was a prince like no other, whose father was killed by his brother. His girlfriend went mad when he murdered her dad, and his uncle then poisoned his mother. There you go. You've all read the play? Yes? Oh, that's great. I thank you all. I know that you've worked extra hard in your lunch hours after school, all those kind of things, and I thank you all from the bottom of my stomach, heart,
for the opportunity, because now we got a meeting point. I went to a meeting in Berkeley last weekend, and there were many learned men from all over the country, in Europe and every place. And they came in and they all butted heads about Hamlet because it's so many things to so many different people. And one of the things that I read, and it comforted me a great deal, was in this book by A.C. Bradley, a noted scholar of Shakespeare, and he said that it is sometimes said that Hamlet's character is not only intricate, but unintelligible. It might mean that the character cannot be wholly understood. The character cannot be wholly understood. And what is meant is that Shakespeare intended him to be so because he himself was feeling strongly and wished his audience to feel strongly what a mystery life is and how impossible it is for us to understand it. So that, in a way, it is insurmountable. You'll never get to the end of it. There is no definitive answer to certain questions raised in Hamlet. He just raises those questions to make you think of it. You see? And it's the journey that's important, and it's the demonstration, and it's the thinking about what makes this thing tick that is important. So don't feel like you have to come out with these great answers of definite answers. I mean, just say whatever comes to your mind first, whatever you're thinking. Anything you say, anything at all, is valid if it means something to you for Hamlet. There are no right answers. There's only a million wrong ones. So, let's kick off, shall we?
Now, Hamlet. Where's Polonius?
At supper.
At supper?
Where? Not where he eats, but where he is eaten. A certain convocation of politic worms are e'en at him.
Alas.
A man may fish with the worm that hath ate of a king, and eat of the fish that fed of that worm.
What dost thou mean by this?
Nothing. To show you how a king may go a progress through the guts of a beggar.
Where is Polonius?
In heaven. Send thither to see. If your messenger find him not there, seek him in the other place yourself. Now, with Shakespeare, tell me, what kind of experience have most of you had with that? Huh? Boring, right? Yeah. Hands up who say boring. Boring. Be truthful, be honest. And what did you find that the main obstacle? Why did it bore you? Do you know why? The language. Oh, God. I could have told you that. The language. Okay. Let's talk about language for a second. You'll hear quotes from Hamlet more often than anything. Have you ever heard neither a borrower nor a lender be? For loan off loses both itself and friend. And there is method in my madness. You've heard that. No? Yeah? It's a little reworded, though this be madness, yet there is method in it. And there's, let's see. Just open up the book. Act 1, Scene 1. Bernardo says, "'Tis now struck 12. Get thee to bed, Francisco." What does that mean? Because it's midnight, right? And Francisco says back to him, "For this relief, much thanks. 'Tis bitter cold, and I am sick at heart." What does that mean? He's tired, cold, man. Yeah, thanks for taking my place. What problem? Too many words. But that's the beauty of it. You don't agree? Think about this for a second. If you say, "Oh, most wicked speed to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets," which is, it's out of context, so you won't quite understand it. Literally, it means, Mom sure didn't waste any time climbing into bed with my uncle after Dad died. But there's no bite in that. There's no poetry. There's no emotion. You can get the emotion out with "Oh, most wicked speed to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets." Far better than you can, "I wish my mother hadn't married so quickly." It's like when you stub your toe, would you say, "Oh, darn," or would you use more explosive
words to express that feeling. We all know what kind of words, don't we? It's written in a rhythm or a beat, so it actually has got a poetic rhythm. And you can actually get into the rhythm of that kind of thing. And the rhythm dictates the breath. And the breath dictates the emotion.
Horatio, or I do forget myself.
But what is your affair in Elsinore? My lord, I came to see your father's funeral. I saw him once. He was a goodly king.
He was a man, taken for all in all. I shall not look upon his like again.
My lord, I think I saw him yesternight.
Saw? Who?
My lord, the king, your father.
The king, my father.
Season your admiration for a while with an attent ear till I may deliver upon the witness of these gentlemen this marvel to you.
For God's love, let me hear.
2 nights together have these gentlemen, in the dead waste and middle of the night, been thus encountered. A figure like your father appears before them. Thrice he walks, by their oppressed and fear surprised eyes within their truncheon's length, whilst they, distilled almost to jelly with the act of fear, stand down and speak not to him. I knew your father. These hands are not more like.
But where was this?
My lord, upon the platform where we watch.
Did you not speak to it?
My lord, I did. But answer made it none. Yet once, methought, it lifted up its head and did address itself to motion like as it would speak. But even then the morning cock crew loud, and at the sound it shrank in haste away and vanished from our sight.
It is very strange.
As I do live, my honored lord, 'tis true.
Indeed, sirs, but this troubles me. Hold you the watch tonight?
We do, my lord.
What? Looked he frowningly?
A countenance more in sorrow than in anger.
And fixed his eyes upon you?
Most constantly.
I would have been there.
It would have much amazed you.
I will watch tonight. Perchance 'twill walk again.
I warrant it will.
Right. Now, what was that about? What was that scene about?
Well, Horatio, Hamlet's friend, has seen the ghost, or the king, right, Hamlet's father, and he comes to him and tells him this story. At first, Hamlet doesn't believe him, but then he brings out the witnesses, and they explain it further, and you could see from his face that he really does believe him.
Yeah.
He's starting to believe him.
Okay, well, who has he doesn't have a problem with the language here. I mean, does anyone? Yes? Yes, sorry.
Well, it's a play. It's sort of better when you see it done than when you read it.
Yeah,
it's sort of
right.
hard to read it, I mean, with all the stage direction and everything. But since it's a play, it's better when you see it done.
Yeah, it comes to life. I mean, the written word on the page is very cold. And that's why I want some of you to get up and do it.
Do you want it in like modern language or
Anything you want. Yeah, modern language. Just use however you can to express what you think that scene's about. Whatever. Even if, hey, you could do it in sign language. I don't care. You can do it on your head. You can dismantle a Harley Davidson while you do it. I don't care. So long as it works.
Hey, ready. Hamlet! Yo, what's happening? You know? My man Horatio, what you doing here, man?
You're gonna see, man.
Cool, what you got there?
I saw your dad the other day.
No fooling, man. It's true. Yeah.
It's true, man. No lying. I am word to the mother.
You talking about me?
No, he doesn't.
He didn't want to talk about you, man. You know, he had an expression on his face. He looked pretty bummed. Why? Because he's dead. See, we're watching over here, right? We're all together over here. You know, I was kicking back these guys. Right here? Yeah, right here. Talking, you're looking out here. And all of a sudden...
And then this thing started going.
Yeah, and then we saw images.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. All right, then. Articulate.
All right, quickly, swap it around. Swap it around. Do something else.
Hey,
Oh,
no.
Horatio, when's the come down?
You know, I've seen your father.
What sayest thou?
Tis true. Tis true. I swear upon it. I saw
See it,
it.
my father?
You see it? I like father.
Thou art local.
Come hither. We saw him. Come hither. I know.
You see it, my father?
Yes, I see it, father. The king, your father.
What looketh he?
Tall.
Tall.
About 128 pounds.
Afro?
He is speaking to
He's speaking.
He is speaking to Horatio.
He's speaking Horatio. What speaking he?
Nothing.
Nada. He speaks nada. Oh. 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 I am mucho distressed.
Thank you. That was excellent. Okay, you guys, now you have no excuse, or I won't accept one at any rate, for saying that the language is a barrier, okay? Relationships between characters in the play Hamlet are diverse, as they are in life. And there's fathers and sons, husbands and wives, fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, uncles, aunts, boyfriends, girlfriends, enemies and friends. And this scene is a very critical moment because Hamlet and his relationships with the other characters of the play change dramatically.
Adieu. Adieu. Remember me.
Remember thee? Aye, thou poor ghost. Whilst memory holds a seat in this distracted globe, remember thee. Yea, from the table of my memory I'll wipe away all trivial fond records, and thy commandment all alone shall live within the book and volume of my brain, unmixed with baser matter. Yes, by heaven.
Why is he's just divorced himself from life in so many areas because of the command of his father, the ghost. And he's erased everything else from his table, from his globe, from his distracted globe, he calls it. He is mixed up.
In a family, you're supposed to be able to handle certain kinds of situations and problems because of the relationship you have with your parents. But maybe, from the beginning, he didn't have a very good relationship with his parents. So, something that would come on like this, kind of drive him mad, and he would make his own decisions.
Yeah, I often thought, when we were doing that, you could, with his father particularly, I think he had a very close relationship with his mother. I think there's all but maybe 15 years difference between them. But his father, I always thought when I was doing the scene with the ghost that's the first time he ever really kind of had a chat with him. Speaking about parents and relationships with parents, let's show you one with Polonius and Ophelia and Laertes. This is father and children, and he's giving them fatherly advice.
This above all, to thine own self be true. And it must follow as the night the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. The time invites you. Go. Your servants tend. Farewell, Ophelia. And remember well what I have said to you.
'Tis in my memory locked, and you yourself shall keep the key of it.
What is't, Ophelia, he hath said to you?
So please you, something touching the Lord Hamlet.
Marry, well bethought. 'Tis told me he hath very oft of late given private time to you.
He hath, my lord, of late made many tenders of his affection to me.
Affection? Huh. You believe his tenders, as you call them?
I do not know, my lord, what I should think.
I will teach you. Tender yourself more dearly.
My lord, he hath importuned me with love in honourable fashion.
Aye, fashion, they call it. Go to.
And have given countenance to his speech, my lord, with almost all the holy vows of heaven.
Aye, springes to catch woodcocks. I do know when the blood burns how prodigal the soul lends the tongue vows. I would not in plain terms from this time forth have you give words or talk with the Lord Hamlet. Look to it, I charge you. Come your ways.
I shall obey, my lord.
Right. So, poor Ophelia. What do you think? Do you think relationships between fathers and daughters have changed much?
Well, they're not so hard. Yeah. I don't think that fathers have changed that much. I think it's more like the girls have changed. Like, you know, she's like, I obey you, my lord. I mean, what kind of a girl would that know? She wouldn't.
I know.
It depends, I suppose.
Really?
Another time, you know, when people did pay dutiful respect to their parents, and so they should, provided their parents are doing the right thing by them.
Even though, I noticed in the film, though, even though Ophelia is the dutiful daughter, which is probably more of that time than the students seem to feel of today, when she does it, you notice she sets her jaw. And I thought that was a wonderful touch.
Yeah.
She's not happy to have to follow those orders.
No.
And she has a life of her own. She has a personality and a character of her own. And I like that.
If you think that it's a real person saying that, they have an attitude to what they say. And that was hers, like, I don't like it, and my last rebellion is to show you that I think you stink, but I'm gonna do it anyway, so, and I hope I die, and then you'll be sorry. I'd like to see what you guys will do with this scene. Any way you want it. I want you to enact the scene between Polonius and his daughter, Ophelia, okay? Have we got any volunteers? We want to do one. Oh, God, look at these volunteers.
What did Laertes say to you?
Say something about Hamlet.
Oh, just getting into that subject. You know, that little brat, it annoys me. Now, what, did he say anything to you? I mean, no, you're not in love with him, are you?
Yes, why?
You are? You didn't believe anything he said because, you know, guys don't tell the truth always.
Yes, I did. I did believe it. Why?
What did he say to you?
He said he loved me and this and that.
You believe that?
Yes, I did.
Listen, he's BS, all right? Boy, can I say that? Don't believe anything. Sometimes he's just all talk. But, you know, I don't think you should believe him. And I guess since you're in love with him, I'll just have to force you to stop seeing him.
Well, that's I don't want to.
It's a baby. Don't you dare disobey me. Where's that story?
Oh, hi, Daddy.
So, what did Laertes say to you?
Nothing.
But you, I heard something about, I heard an H word in there.
H word?
Yeah, what was that H word?
Oh, maybe, ham.
Hamlet?
Yeah, oh, ham.
Church lady. We're very open here.
Okay, well.
Okay. Take a stroll. All right, now, I don't want you seeing Hamlet anymore.
What?
I don't want you seeing Hamlet anymore.
Daddy, but Hamlet says he loves me.
But that's just a hunk of, you know.
A hunk of what? It's a hunk of love, Daddy.
It is not a hunk of love. Oh, word. It is a hunk of...
Daddy, you use such language around me.
I'm sorry. This is how I feel. And this is how Hamlet feels.
Daddy, no, please.
You must not see him anymore.
But Daddy,
You must not.
he says he loves me.
You must not see him anymore.
Oh, Daddy, my wig is falling.
Now,
I will obey.
All right. Anybody else want to have a crack at it? It's a hard act to follow, yeah? Here, I'll show you a different kind of parent-child relationship.
Now, Mother, what's the matter?
Hamlet, thou hast thy father much offended.
Mother, you have my father much offended.
Oh, come. You answer with an idle tongue.
Go, you question with a wicked tongue.
Why, how now, Hamlet?
What's the matter now?
Have you forgot me?
No, Mother Rude, not so. You are the queen, your husband's brother's wife, and would it were not so, you are my mother.
Nay, then, I'll set those to you that can speak.
Come and sit you down. You shall not budge. You go not till I set you up a glass, where you may see the inmost part of you.
Why will thou do? Thou art not mad.
All right, cut. So, like, he's reading his old, his Mother, the Riot Act. So that's a different kind of parent-child relationship, but Hamlet is, I think, diseased. And this is probably, in this scene, the closest to insane, if not insane. I think he just goes over the edge in this scene when he stabs the old guy. That he goes. Yeah.
He's letting out, as you said, he has like a globe of emotions. He's just letting everything out.
Yeah, he's blurting it out.
Exploding.
It's justification. And later on in the scene, he actually gets to a point, and he's doing it because he loves her.
Confess yourself to heaven. Repent what's past. Avoid what is to come. And do not spread the compost on the weeds to make them ranker.
Hamlet, thou hast cleft my heart in twain.
Oh, throw away the worser part of it and live the purer with the other half. Good night. And when you are desirous to be blessed, I a blessing beg of you.
See, even in that scene with his mother, you can see he's coming back. He chastises her really rudely, slaps her around, and I didn't show you the whole scene. But, like, once she's yielded, finally, and she says, Hamlet, thou hast cleft my heart in twain, he's just right there ready to sort of come in and sort of say, well, look, I'll tell you what you do, please, you know. And it's through love, I think, that he's doing all that. And I think that he is a person who has a great capacity for love, but that when he hands it out to people, all of a sudden they poke him in the eye. And he's had that a few times, so that he's now becoming suspicious, and that's kind of ruined his purity somehow. And it's ruined his trust. Now, I think he loves Ophelia, but because his mother's disappointed him, he distrusts all women. And Ophelia suffers for this.
But, my lord, how does your honor for this many a day?
I humbly thank you well.
My lord, I have remembrances of yours that I have longed long to redeliver. I pray you now, receive them.
No, not I. I never gave you aught.
My honored lord, you know right well you did. And with them, words of so sweet breath composed as made the things more rich. Their perfume lost. Take these again. There, my lord.
Are you honest?
My lord?
Are you fair?
What means your lordship?
That if you be honest and fair, your honesty should admit no discourse to your beauty.
Could beauty, my lord, have better commerce than with honesty?
I did love you once.
Indeed, my lord. You made me believe so.
You should not have believed me. I loved you not. Where's your father?
At home, my lord.
Let the doors be shut upon him, that he may play the fool nowhere but in his own house. If thou dost marry, I'll give thee this plague for thy dowry. Be thou as chaste as ice, as pure as snow. Thou shalt not escape calumny. Or if thou wilt needs marry, marry a fool. For wise men know well enough what monsters you make of them. I have heard of your paintings well enough. God hath given you one face, and you make yourselves another. You jig and amble, and you lisp. You nickname God's creatures, and make your wantonness your ignorance. Go to! I'll no morons. It has made me mad.
He was nasty to her, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's it still is today how boys are to girls. They are nasty. But still, it's so overwhelming to see that so long ago. It's still the same way today.
Yeah. Funny. It's not so different. I mean, she gives him his ring back, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I mean, go on.
You see Hamlet as this very irrational character. I mean, one minute, especially in Ophelia's presence, one minute he's writing love letters to her, and another minute he says, get thee to a nunnery.
He's putting curses on her.
Yeah,
He's saying, no matter how good you are, may everyone think you are a slut. He tells her all this horrible stuff. There's no other character in Shakespeare that speaks to a woman that way.
It seemed that Hamlet, the way he was looking at them, was starting to get angry at the whole class thing, where he couldn't have, let's say, Ophelia because of the difference in class.
That's an interesting comment, because what do you think Hamlet thinks of the whole class thing?
I'm sure he doesn't like it.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
I mean, a king and a beggar are all the same to this man. That's one great thing about it. That's one of his nice traits. You hit the nail on the head there. That's one of the things that bugs him. It's not just that. I mean, there's a whirlwind of stuff going. That's one of those elements in there very strongly, too. And Shakespeare calls this a tragedy. Why do you think why is it a tragedy to you?
What started all the tragedies was like his father's death.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like things were pretty calm up to the point where his father dies, and then everybody just started hating each other and backstabbing each other for, I think, no reasons,
Yeah.
But, I think that what started most was the tragedy of his father's death.
Yeah. What other kinds of tragedy are in here?
Ophelia and Hamlet are like torn apart because of the things that go on with everyone else.
Yeah.
So really they loved each other in the beginning, and he was really sweet to her. And because of what everybody else, everybody else stabbing everybody else in the back, it kind of gets taken out on them.
That's right. That's another tragedy. Let me just show you another piece, and I think it's probably one of the most tragic moments, or it's a crucial moment in the whole play.
Oh, my offenses rank its spells to heaven. It hath the primal eldest curse upon a brother's murder. Now might I do it, Pat? Now he's praying, and now I'll do it. And so he goes to heaven, and so am I revenged. That would be scanned. A villain kills my father, and for that I, sole son, do this same villain send to heaven, when he is fit and seasoned for his passage. Why, this is hire and salary, not revenge. Oh! Wretched state! Oh, bosom black as death! No, when he is drunk, asleep, or in his rage, or in the incestuous pleasure of his bed, then trip him that his heels may kick at heaven, and that his soul may be as damned and black as hell whereto it goes. Now to my mother.
So, you see here that Hamlet goes to kill the king, but doesn't do it. And because he doesn't get him at that point, all these other deaths occur. Nobody's died up to this point. And if he'd stabbed him then, nobody else would have. So it's a very tragic moment, really. And he always assumes through the whole play that he ought to. And the ghost assumes that he ought to. But what's stopping him? What's holding him up? What's holding him up?
Okay, I have a question. On the part when Hamlet chose not to kill the king, why didn't the spirit of his father reappear to, like, you know, tell him to kill him?
Bad timing. Bad timing. It's like when he did appear, it was bad timing. That's another tragedy. Everything's just badly timed. Hamlet himself, at one point, has a feeling of impending tragedy, and he cites bad timing as a factor in that.
Time is out of joint. Oh, cursed spite, that ever I was born to set it right.
Can anyone sort of pinpoint a different kind of tragedy that sets all these other tragedies off?
Maybe his relationship with his mother?
You're getting warm. What about Hamlet himself? Is there something in him that's tragic? I mean, something... What is it about his character that's tragic? Yeah.
Well, he keeps on getting mad at himself that he can't take revenge at him. That the only way he is taking revenge at him right now is he's thinking about it, but he's not doing it.
Yeah.
He's not acting on his thoughts. He's just thinking about it, and he keeps on thinking about his father. That my father was so sweet to me, so nice to me, that right now I can't do this for him, and he's mad at himself for that.
Absolutely.
He's trying to find all these reasons why he didn't kill him.
Yeah.
If he's a coward, all these different reasons.
Trying to get some real proof for everything.
Yeah. To prove to himself that what the ghost said was true. Do you think that he really needs any more proof or evidence, or do you think that...
I think he's just trying to stall it. He's stalling.
He's stalling.
He's fearful of killing someone.
Yeah.
He's hesitant.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes it's like when you get mad at somebody and they're not there at that moment, you have a chance to think things through, and you might look at things from their point of view, and then you calm down.
That's right.
And you can't just like fly off the handle at them because you've thought things like from every different angle.
Yeah. Do you think that's a part of Hamlet's character?
Probably, because I mean, if he would have killed the king, and then someone would say like, "Why did you do it?" He would be like, "A ghost told me." I mean, how much sense does that make? He would sound like a fool. And so he figures, well, maybe it was a hoax. Maybe I miss my father so much, or maybe the devil was tempting me. Maybe he's trying to come up with all these other reasons why not to do it, why to do it, and just to see if it's really true. I mean, he has to know. He wants some kind of proof. He wants something that he can touch, that he can say, "There you go. I put my finger on it. I got you."
Yeah.
There's one thing I don't understand, because when the king is praying, that's kind of his proof. I mean, he found out that...
Yeah, I mean, he says it, doesn't he?
Right, so why didn't he kill him then?
Well, see, now that he knows, it doesn't make any difference. In fact, at the play scene, when he sees the proof of the king, the king nearly has a fit. Hamlet knows he's so elated that he's on the ceiling, absolutely on top of the world. He could dance on air, and that's part of his melancholy too. Is that he's completely caught up in that mood that he's created. And he's particularly pleased with his own genius in having that whole thing. The mousetrap actually works. The mousetrap he invented works. And the mouse gets caught in it well and truly. But it seems to be that he focuses on that aspect. That's where he derives the pleasure from. He's caught there. He's just stuck there. He just doesn't want to go any further. See, now that he knows, and the king's guilt is obvious to him, he still doesn't want to do it. People are still arguing about character traits of Hamlet or motivations that he had, why he did things, why he didn't do other things, what was the cause of his delay. And there are still a million questions still being asked 400 years later. I think Shakespeare's lying somewhere under the earth, sort of having a quiet chuckle to himself that he kept people involved and busy with this particular piece of literature for so long. Well, let's carry on with Hamlet's character for a while. I mean, Hamlet he's got so many layers. I mean, there is something about Hamlet that I don't care who you are, you can look at him and you say, God, that's just like me in some way or other. What, if anything, when in reading the play, did any of you identify with the most? What struck you the most that you recognized in yourself? Is there anything in there?
His madness.
His madness. Do you get like
Well, the way he changes his view on everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing is kind of being pulled in like different directions from different situations around you. Sometimes it's like your parents may want you to do this thing and your friends might want you to do something else, but you want to do something completely different entirely. And you have to find a middle ground.
Yeah, and it's frustrating, isn't it? It's particularly true, like how you'd be all around 15. Yeah? That really hits you then, doesn't it? I found that when I was that age. It was like somebody would tell you one thing and then you get another thing and you'd want to go and smack somebody's head in. And it was terrible frustrations would accumulate. Yeah.
Like in the soliloquy that Hamlet was saying to be or not to be, I think like everybody in this room has once found themselves talking to themselves, pondering the question, and then wanting something, and then suddenly suddenly looking at it from another point of view, like he was fearful of what was going to come after death, finding out the other point of it, and then suddenly not wanting it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Be careful what you wish, you may get it, sort of thing. Yeah.
I think that Hamlet, has like a double personality almost. He's intelligent, he's smart, he's dashing, he's intelligent, and then when he's with Ophelia, I mean, it's like a total about face. He's nasty to her. He's very bad to her, and it's kind of two things. He's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde all at once.
Yeah, yeah. It's often been said that the character of Hamlet is afflicted with extreme melancholy, and the Elizabethan notion of melancholy was rapid and often extreme changes of mood, and being trapped in whatever mood it was for a time, actually being caught in whatever it was that carried them away, so absorbed that that was part of his too much reflectiveness. He thought a lot about stuff. When he thinks about stuff, he just talks about it and mulls it over. And I think that's what you probably noticed. Anybody else have anything that they really identify?
I think that, when he's stressed out because of family and friends, I think that in a way we all feel like that too, because at some point we just feel like, just die and there. I know I feel like that before.
Yeah.
And I feel like, just feel like committing suicide and just say, it's over.
Yeah. Just fall into the earth and cease to exist, yeah. With me, it was, that thing where there's someone in authority and you just have this thing burning inside you about that person and you just want to tell them, but you can't. Something is holding you back. What is it? What's holding you back from going up and expressing this rage that you're feeling inside? You can't. I don't know what that is, but I always felt stifled in that way. And as a result of that, I would direct that rage somewhere else. And oft times it'd be against yourself. And I recognized in Hamlet that he often suppresses his frustrations to the point where he beats up on himself.
Am I a coward? Swoons, it cannot be, but I am pigeon-livered and lack gall to make oppression bitter. Or ere this, I should have fatted all the region kites with this slave's awful, bloody, bawdy villain! Remorseless, treacherous, lecherous, kindless villain! Oh, vengeance! Why, what an ass am I? This is most brave. That I, the son of a dear father, murdered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, must, like a whore, unpack my heart with words. And fall a-cussing like a very drab, a scullion, foul, about my brains.
I was reading something that you guys had, that Miss Culp gave you, and it was Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth and the hero. And I found it really interesting because in many ways it fit just almost perfectly Hamlet, and in some ways not. Where do you think it sort of met up with that?
The quest for his father.
Yes, he was given an assignment by his father, a quest, go out and do this, yeah, all that element. And there's another section in here to do with death. He says, which stories from mythology help us understand death? And the guy says, you don't understand death, you learn to acquiesce in death. Do you think that this happens in Hamlet?
I don't think they understood death at all.
I'm sorry?
They didn't understand death at all.
Yeah, no, he doesn't understand death, right? I'll give you an example. Hit it!
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them, to die, to sleep, no more. And by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep. To sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of disprized love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes? When he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin. Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus, conscience does make cowards of us all. And thus, the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with a pale cast of thought. And enterprises of great pitch and moment, with this regard, their currents turn awry and lose the name of action.
Okay, what's that about?
It just seems that at this point,
Have a drink.
it seems that at this point he's so in love with death. He just wants to end it all at that point, right? He's saying to stop all the shocks that the human body is during the lifetime that the human body comes to, all these shocks, and he just wants to end it all. But then suddenly, like that, he thinks he becomes fearful of death. he says he admits that he doesn't know what's going to come after it, and that's why he really doesn't want to die.
Yeah, he's really caught, isn't he? He's between a rock and a hard spot. He wants desperately to just melt, but he hasn't got the guts to do it himself or to initiate it himself. He just wishes it had kind of happened, maybe.
There's confusion about a lot of things. I mean, when he's got his whole to be or not to be, his whole speech, he's kind of saying, should I or shouldn't I? Should I or shouldn't I? You know? And I can identify with that because I get confused and I get stuck in the middle and I sit there and I go, oh, what should I do?
Yeah, but even if he does kill himself, he still loses because what's on the other side might be worse than what he's leaving, and he's absolutely tormented by that because he finds the world so lacking. It's not up to his standard. He expects a lot from people because he is a very pure spirit. I think was a very pure spirit himself, and he's not well. He's diseased. His mind has been poisoned. His heart's been poisoned. His soul's been poisoned. Poisoned by a series of incidents at the head of the play. Grief over his father's death, his mother's abandonment of him at this time of need, an incestuous marriage to his uncle, whom he despises, and the ghost's terrible revelations about what's really going on around there. I mean, he's going through a terrible crisis. And that is referred to also, isn't it, in Joseph Campbell? That sort of...
go through a transformation.
Yeah, a transformation. And this is what's happening. I mean, he's finding that transformation incredibly difficult. He's stuck. He's snagged on the transformation, isn't he? He's charged by his father with a quest to fulfill at a time in his life when he's least capable of dealing with it. And at any other time in his life, he wouldn't have been like this. And there's evidence to back that up. It's in the play. It's mainly said and demonstrated by other characters, how they perceived of Hamlet, of what he was like, what his character was like before the play began. But I'm not going to tell you about that. I'm going to wait for you to look it up because you're quite capable of doing that. Anyway, we're out of time. So there you go. Hamlet is a piece of work that's so rich, has infinite layers. And this study guide is really just a jumping off point. We've only just scratched the surface here with the short time allotted. And hopefully ignited a spark that can enkindle a raging fire of exploration. How do you like that for poetry? And discovery for you. Because there's an inferno in there if you want to stoke it. This piece is like a literary Rubik's Cube. So, the ball's in your court now. And don't forget to have fun with it, okay? Because if it ain't fun, it ain't worth it. Bye.